Welcome back to The Boys in the Iceberg, the podcast where we watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. As always, I'm Caleb Bader.
And I am Harley Davis.
And we got 2 more episodes coming at you this week. The first episode was...
The Northern Air Temple.
And the second episode?
It was something.
The Waterbending Master?
Yep, the Waterbending Master.
I don't think you guys realize how many times we had to ask each other what the names of these episodes were. Just cannot retain any of that information.
After a while, I feel like all the names of the shows start just sounding the same. Like we have the Winter Solstice Part 1, Part 2, and to me, the same thing with the episodes we're going to watch next week.
Yeah.
Part 1 and Part 2. I don't know why. They just get confusing. And like the Waterbending Master.
Well, because I always think it's the Northern Water Tribe because they have the Southern Air Temple and the Northern Air Temple. It's a little bit confusing after a while.
It can get confusing.
No, but yeah, we're going to start off with... I forgot the name.
The
Northern Air Temple. Okay.
I tried.
So, this episode starts out with a little bit of a story time for our main characters.
They're all sitting around a campfire. It's telling not spooky stories, regular stories.
Yeah.
And one man's talking about the Airwalkers. Is that what he calls them?
Yes, the Airwalkers
of the Northern Air Temple.
Yeah, and Aang's like, wait, what are you talking about? You would have had to seen these 100 years ago.
He's like, no, my grandpappy just saw him last week.
Yeah, and turns out there's some people inhabiting the Northern Air Temple, so the gang goes and checks it out.
Sacrilege. Bunch of dirty people.
Well, we'll get to that. So they fly up onto the temple and see all these people with gliders flying around, and Sokka and Katara are like, wow, there's airbenders. But Aang immediately knows that they're not actually airbenders. They're just they're gliders that have co-opted some airbending technology.
They're sacrilegious buffoons is what they are.
I wouldn't call it sacrilege.
They're dirty Earth Kingdom refugees who has just taken over this beautiful monastery.
I think you need to watch your mouth.
I'm not.
Show some respect.
For this animated people that aren't...
You're saying you hate disabled people?
I never brought that up.
Okay, so the first person that they come upon is a disabled person. He has lost use of his legs.
He has a name.
And he's gliding. Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Why don't you use his name?
Teo?
There you go. His disability does not make him, Caleb.
No, he makes his disability. Is that
how that works?
I don't know. I don't think that's better. But
we're trying, folks.
He's in a wheelchair, but he's also got a wings on the back of it, and he's gliding around. And him and Aang get into it a little bit. They go on a race, trying to show each other up.
Yeah, and to me, honestly, Aang, even with his little bitty airbending that he does, still, to me, he showed up Teo.
Oh, yeah.
But then Teo does this weird thing. It's obviously biased, because the Earth Kingdom refugees know who Teo is.
Yeah.
It's obviously biased. And he does this thing where he pulls out that smoke screen or whatever, and he draws Aang's face in the sky.
Yeah, cloud writing or whatever they call that. Sky writing.
That was real dumb and immature. When was he 9?
And also, I wanted to bring up, in order to make it look that big, how big it looked, you would have had to have been traveling very fast over long distances, and I don't think that he was going that fast.
Oh, he's going pretty fast.
And I don't know, can you go upside down in a glider? Are you allowed to do that?
Let's test it. Let me book tickets right now for the gliding next week, and if they can do it that quick.
And we'll go upside down.
And we'll go probably die, but we'll go upside down.
I don't know if that's how aerodynamics work.
We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, so after that, they land, and they're talking to Teo, and Aang is a little bit miffed with these people.
Well, I mean, I would be too, because you grew up in that, not that monastery specifically, but you've traveled to that monastery. And it's when he sees what they've done to the place, there's a lot of steampunk stuff going on. A lot of pipes running through walls, and there's a beautiful mural on one of the walls. And there are pipes just smashing through these walls.
Oh, but we haven't even got to that yet, because Aang is already miffed at Teo because he doesn't have any spirit.
He's disrespecting the art of airbending.
Of airbending. Basically.
Which, that's a whole lot of stuff that I personally don't have experience with firsthand, with the whole honor and whatnot and respect. Obviously, I can respect people. But, there's a lot of, it's deeply rooted in the Asiatic cultures of respect and honor. And to me, I was kind of like, whatever. But then as it goes on in the episode, I'm like, wow, Aang's got a good point. They're being absolute dirtbags of this place.
Yeah, at one point, Teo takes Aang and everybody else into some tunnels. Not really tunnels, sort of hallways in the temple. And there's pipes going through walls, and they've got big holes places, and there's all this pollution and stuff. And
yeah, there's an old fountain, and it's all just green and just mucky.
And yeah, I can see how Aang would be a little bit disconcerted at that. So after they go through that hallway, they go out into sort of an open courtyard area with murals painted on the walls. One's an Airbending Master. And Aang is saying how he loves how this place has been untouched.
Yeah, there's a statue of one of the monks. Sitting cross-legged, sitting there, and he's looking right at it, and all of a sudden you hear, "Look out!" And then this giant, what looks like a crane almost with the wrecking ball.
It's sort of like a trebuchet, but a wrecking ball.
And it smashes through the wall and destroys that Buddhist statue, and Aang is furious.
Yeah, he's pretty mad.
He destroys the entire crane, throws it off the cliff, actually.
So that's when we meet Teo's dad.
Which is...
He's an inventor?
He's a loon.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy.
Just looking at him, he's a lunatic. He got that little bitty monocle on his face. That's a very thin-rimmed monocle, by the way.
But him and Sokka hit it off pretty quickly because Sokka also fancies himself as a little bit of an engineer and inventor.
Have we actually seen Sokka engineer anything that works?
He made those bombs.
Did they work?
One time? The smoke or the fire bombs.
But
no, they did not
No,
work.
it didn't work.
But he thinks that he is. He would like to aspire to that.
That's fair.
And then we see the dumbest design for a for a clock.
Yeah, there's layers. Which when I first saw that as a little kid, I'm like, oh, they're really cool. If like the layers would explode and like spiral out, and there was like 12 in a layer, and like one of them goes away, and it's like, oh, it's like okay, it's you're 8 hours in a day or whatever.
I figured like they would just measure like how much the candle melted with the lines to see, but
it pops.
Yeah, the inventor. I don't even remember the dad's name. The crazy inventor guy. But
crazy inventor. We'll call him that.
Yeah, he looks over at the candle and is like, "Oh, it's about time for this." And then it pops. I was like, "How did you know before it popped that it was about ready to pop?"
Yeah, and so you have to have somebody like on guard at the candle at all times if you just want to know what time it is, because it just sits there and burns and then it pops.
I'm pretty sure they had sundial technology at this point.
Yeah, why don't you use sundials? That'd be a smart thing to do.
A giant hourglass.
The word that you couldn't think of earlier.
Yes. Well, we're not going to mention that on the podcast.
I thought it was pretty funny.
So, yeah, after that, they're still looking around, and at this point, Teo's sort of feeling bad for Aang because like everything he knew, they sort of changed to make it easier for them to live there. So he takes them to this wall with horns and stuff on it, and it's like the door from the Southern Air Temple that Aang opened with airbending.
And there, the kid Teo is whatever. He's about to tell Aang. He's like, yeah, everything in there has been untouched.
Yeah, because you can't get into that without.
Which is, I want to know how he actually got it. I realize the guy's an engineer. He could be like, oh well, obviously airbending's how you get this open, and he figures something out to do that with. But at the same time, the kid's like, it's been untouched. Like, how do you hide that from your kid for so long?
Yeah, well, you're getting a little bit of ahead of us because at this point, the crazy inventor guy.
It does not have a name. It's called the Mechanist.
The Mechanist. He doesn't have a name, really?
I've looked it up right now, and it calls him the Mechanist.
Oh, that's weird. Well, the Mechanist, that sounds so stupid.
Fallout 4.
But he takes Sokka under his wing, and they're doing some inventy stuff together. And they find out this gas leak. It's trapped natural gas underneath the temple. And they decide that the best way to do it was to fuse the gas with rotten egg smell.
Well, now that there is some reality behind that, people actually do that in real life. If there's like for like odorless LPG, they put like ethanol. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's a smell. That way it's detectable for humans.
Okay.
So it's a real thing. Because when I first watched it, I'm like, that's a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
But now that I know more, I'm like, that's not a bunch of crap.
It might still be a bunch of crap.
It might still be a bunch of crap. But yeah.
The explanation that they gave was the smell of eggs mixes with the gas. And then wherever the gas is, the egg smell is there.
Yeah, my question is, how are they going to put the egg smell in that if they don't know where the gas is? Like, they know that it's in a little room, but they don't know where it originates from. So how would they get the egg smell in there, and how would they be able to detect where?
Well, they're just going to throw eggs down in there.
That's
and wait for them to rot.
Ludicrous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's dumb.
But yeah. So at this point, I think we should jump ahead a little bit. Aang goes back to the wall. Why does he end up going in there again?
Well, because there's him and Teo and Katara are out flying, and Katara does her first gliding thing.
Yes, I remember
And
that.
then he's like, you know what? I realized that 2 seconds ago we decided that we were never going to open this because I liked it to keep it the way it originally
But
was.
yeah, he decides because he decides that Teo does have spirit,
But now I see that you have spirit.
Yes.
So let's open that baby up.
which makes sense.
Which is dumb. No.
But
I have never wanted to. I've never decided to be like, I trust this guy immediately. Like after 2 seconds of seeing them.
he is feeling a sort of kinship to him at this point, Harlan.
No,
because he recognizes that he does have an airbender spirit, even if he's not an airbender.
But that overpowers the emotions of him just being furious at his entire people for destroying this
he's
monument
not
to
showing
airbenders.
the entire people. He's just showing Teo.
That's just crazy to me.
So yeah, him and Katara take Teo to the door, and he opens it up. And lo and behold, it's not untouched. It's got a whole bunch of torture devices.
Fire Nation stuff
And
everywhere.
Fire Nation blimp.
It's like the 50 Shades of Grey room in there.
Yeah, and then Sokka's still up with the Mechanist, and there's a little alarm that goes off, and the Mechanist. I don't want to call him the Mechanist anymore. I don't like it.
That's his name on here, man.
I understand that. I'm gonna call him the Inventor. The Inventor. No, that sounds dumb too. I don't.
Teo's dad.
Yeah, Teo's dad is his official name. He runs down there after hearing the alarm and goes, "Oh, you don't understand." Immediately. And they're like,
I would have lied my way through that. I've been
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I've been like, wow, there's so much stuff in here.
yeah, like,
That's crazy.
Oh, wow, how did that Fire Nation stuff get here? I didn't do it, surely.
They must have just left it here after they were here last.
Yeah, Aang immediately figures out. He's like, "You've been building weapons for the Fire Nation."
Yeah, immediately accused this guy of
Yeah,
that.
I'd be like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about."
Fire what?
Yeah, but apparently he has been, because as soon as the Earth nomads, that sounds weird to call them that, but the refugees. As soon as they got there, basically the Fire Nation showed up and was like, "Hey," it was sort of like a mafia shakedown sort of thing, like they were doing in other Earthbend settlements. Like, what do you have for us in order for us not to kill you, basically?
Yeah, like,
And he's like-
offer up your goods and or services, or we're gonna slaughter your people.
And he was like, "Well, my name is the Mechanist."
That's my name.
Yeah.
Call me the Mechanist.
Yeah, that's where the name came from. He wants a supervillain name. But he starts designing weapons and tanks and stuff for the Fire Nation.
Yeah, are all those tanks that climb up that wall or the cliff side all of his design?
I think so. I think that's what's implied because I noticed there's like the
Ironic.
spike wheels.
Mhm.
They were sitting.
They were weren't
scattered
they?
around.
Yeah. So
But
we
then-
we get a little bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how that's going to pay off, but it does later.
Well, there are a bunch of blueprints. One of the trivia facts in here actually, there's a bunch of blueprints. And if you go back and rewatch that,
Save
though,
the trivia for the
hey,
trivia.
how about you
segment
let
of
me
the
talk
podcast.
and don't interrupt me ever again? When you actually watch the episode, there are so many blueprints out everywhere. And there's actually like a blueprint of a big drill or something like that, like a big mechanized drill, which comes to play later.
Spoiler.
In the series. There's I don't know. So it's kind of ironic that his own tools are the ones that fight him. Which, by the way, where were these? Like, did they just have these on standby? These tanks? Like the guy just walked in.
I guess so. They were prepared, maybe. Maybe
Like
they didn't
they just
ship them
knew
all that far.
these Earth refugees were going to be like, no, like, well, I got tanks.
Yeah,
I brought tanks with me.
Because after this, Aang confronts Teo's dad,
Tails-
and he says, "Hey, when are the Fire Nation coming to get all their stuff? We want to be ready for them." And so the main guy, I don't even know if he has a name.
he actually does have a name.
He has a name.
He has a name, but not the Mechanist
Okay,
guy.
great.
It's Qin. I'm not going to try to butcher that one.
Keen,
Keen? Is that how it is?
probably.
It's
Something
called.
like
His
that.
name's War Master Keen.
War Master Keen. Okay, so War Master Keen shows up.
He has a title and a name, but the Mechanist just has a title.
A title.
And
And
he's
a
like-
dumb title at
And a
that.
dumb title at that.
War Master Keen shows up, and Aang immediately confronts him and is like, "Hey, you got to leave here empty-handed. You're not going to get any of this stuff. We should just kill him, Aang. Please, just get it over with." You could have solved a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like one of the things that I said, because we talked about that episode when he's at Boomies, and he can cut through that chain.
Yeah, he
I'm
cuts
like-
through the chain
I'm
and
like,
then
can he
dies
just-
and grabs the key.
Do you think he can make that a precision Erica enough to like chop somebody's head off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that'd be really cool if he just like he was just this angry guy, just like I'm just gonna start killing firebenders now.
Yeah,
And
do
then War Master Keen just I don't know they send War Master Keen's body back,
Yeah,
and then his
without a
head back
head.
separately.
it. Yeah,
And they're like, oh snap, these guys are crazy.
yeah, exactly. I don't think that the Fire Nation wanted any of that.
But it turns out it's a monthly supply of weapons.
Oh, okay.
So he has to continuously or continually.
How did nobody find out about that?
I don't have no idea.
I guess there was a trap door underneath his office, but other than that, you think that people would notice the
How did
Fire
they-
Nation coming up?
How did they get them out of there, though?
I don't know, Harley. Probably in pieces.
Like, I mean, I realize he probably just gave him blueprints for the tanks, and they probably made the tanks on, like, Fire Nation soil.
That makes sense.
But, like, actual weapons, because he had actual weapons there.
I think those were probably prototypes, though. He just had a mock-up of it, and then they produced it.
So probably gives him blueprints and stuff like that.
That makes the most sense.
That would.
Yeah.
Because
I'm glad we figured that out.
Wow, it took us forever to figure that out.
So, yeah, War Master Keen's like, okay, you messed up real big because we're going to come back here and kill everybody.
Aang slaps him in the face with air.
Yeah.
Slaps him right in the face with air. I like that.
And it knocks his hair. His hair gets all out of place. That's terrible. You should never do that to anybody. But he...
Respect your elders, Aang.
Yeah, he leaves. And then the people, the Earth refugees, have to figure out how they're going to defend their temple from these bad guys.
Stink bombs, folks.
Yeah,
Stink
a lot of
bombs.
stink and sludge bombs.
Never underestimate the power of stink. Direct quote from the Mechanist.
Did they ever use a stink bomb? They used those sludge bombs. But I don't think I ever saw a stink bomb.
They did use a lot of sludge bombs. I don't think they did they?
Which
no, those. I guess they had smoke bombs for a second. They looked like dynamite, and they dropped them. They thought they were actually going to explode.
I'm going to give you a quick tip. If you ever have to defend your temple from Fire Nation soldiers, use real bombs and kill them.
If you actually have that at your disposal,
yes,
please do.
Don't use sludge bombs. That's dumb. That's very dumb.
Like, this episode was very vague on certain things. Like, when they start fighting, and one of the guys is like, "Oh, my dad was working on a counterbalance system. Water's the weakness."
Yeah,
and then Katara just shows up. She's like, "I'm a waterbender."
So,
like, it doesn't say what you do with the water. It's just water's the weakness. Like, you just throw a speck at it and it rusts. Like, what happens there?
Eventually, the Fire Nation does show up, and they have these tanks
in full force.
Yeah, they're coming up the mountain, and these tanks have like grappling hooks that can scale the mountain. And they at one point, Aang airbends a couple of them, flips them over, and then the middle of the tank shifts so that it's upright again. And then they keep going. But then I think that the counterbalance system is supposed to be in reference to that, to them being able to shift. So they're still upright.
I'm with you on that.
But then Katara just does a little bit of water bending and ice, and then the wheels just fall off.
Yeah, like, it's so insane. Then she picks up one and then throws it outside.
You could just do that for all of them. It wouldn't even be that hard.
And then how Aang threw the ones on top, like upside down. Appa does the same thing.
Yeah.
But then they're smoldering after that, and they're not moving from after that.
Yeah, they could easily have taken all those tanks out.
How can Appa destroy a tank by doing the same exact thing Aang did?
Well, Appa is pretty powerful.
Also, those things were grinding on his head.
Yeah, that's true.
That'd be a bleeding bison.
Yeah, no, he's thick fur.
They can show blood on this show, can't they? I think Zuko bleeds once.
Does he? He's got cuts on it, or burns on his face.
Yeah,
not the obvious burn, but later.
Yeah, bruises and stuff like that. Because it actually, we're talking about the explosions, and I got to be thinking, yeah, it's a kids show. They wouldn't actually show.
I think that's the next episode.
Explosions. No. We're talking about we're debating whether or not they should use explosions against the Fire Nation.
Oh, yes.
We're debating that, and I was like, it's a kid's show, though. They wouldn't actually use explosions. And then Sokka shows up with this huge blimp, which was supposed to save the day, and it does.
It's a prototype that the Mechanist was working on for the Fire Nation, and it's a blimp, and they bring sludge bombs up in it
instead of actual bombs.
Yeah. And they do it. Sokka actually figures out how to make the blimp work by releasing air from the top.
Yeah, to keep it from going too high or going too low.
Yeah. So they use that. That's their sort of ace in the hole, and it doesn't really do anything until they are flying over a crevasse in the ground, and they smell rotten eggs.
So apparently they had time to do the rotten egg maneuver.
Yeah, they went ahead and did that. Which
they had so much time.
Did they have already rotten eggs, or did they throw in regular eggs and wait for them to rot?
I have no idea, because he said that's last week's lunch.
Yeah,
and the Fire Nation just showed up the same day that they discovered that the rotten eggs could do that. So
they must have had already rotten eggs.
They just hold on to rotten eggs.
Yes, they do.
Where are they getting eggs from, by the way?
That's true. I didn't see any chickens.
No chickens.
They were hermit crabs.
The little hermit crab eggs.
No, but they fly over the ravine, and they figure out that that's where the gas is coming from. But they're all out of bombs, which they only had sludge bombs.
Or are they?
So Sokka goes ahead and starts prying the engine for the blimp up, and the Mechanist is like, "What are you doing?" And Sokka says that it's the only bomb we have left, and then they drop it down into the crevice, and it blows the entire temple up, and everyone dies.
Okay, no. Yeah, it's exactly what happens.
It definitely would have done that.
It was a huge explosion.
It ended up not doing that in the show.
No, but that was, I guess, so that kind of counteracted my argument of actual explosions in the show. Because it had to, because there were those Fire Nation's foot soldiers actually walking up the cliffside in their little zigzag thingy that they did. And it had to have murdered those guys.
Oh, yeah, they're dead.
It killed those guys. The tank guys are no longer attached to the wall because when the smoke clears, it shows broken chains hooked up from top of the cliff. And so the tank guys are dead. They've murdered so many people. Sokka by himself.
It was a giant explosion.
Sokka by himself has the highest kill count so far in Team Avatar, for sure. How many? Hundreds.
Probably.
In just this one
would
episode.
have to have been.
But anyways. And then, then the blimp starts to sink.
Oh, yeah, it's going down. So then Aang has to fly down there, and Sokka grappling hooks him. I guess he has that ability now.
Takes one of the ropes off the blimp.
Hooks it to
throws the boomerang at Aang's foot. That very sharp boomerang that would probably cut Aang's foot off.
And rip when the weight hit him, it would have ripped his leg right out of its socket.
Ligaments.
But that's fine.
All sorts of messed up.
The science isn't exactly exact on the show. No. So
things are very vague in the show.
So Aang saves the day. Sokka saves the day, really. And they're all happy. But then we cut to down on the ground. The Fire Nation is looking at the wreckage of the blimp.
Yeah, the 3 foot soldiers that are left.
Yes. And they're looking at it and say, this loss has changed the tide of the war. Because now they have aerial technology. So great job, Mechanist. I'm glad. I hope you're happy.
Tools. So what were your overall thoughts of this episode?
I liked the episode. Kind of. Not really. It's okay.
I loved it. Kind of.
Fine.
No, I hated it.
Yeah.
It was awful.
That's about my feelings. Certain parts I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. They go to the Northern Air Temple.
Yeah, you get to see the Northern Air Temple, but then, no.
Yeah.
Those are two opposite things. But then you see, people, they're desecrating this temple.
Yeah, they're making a mess of it. And I think they
destroy that wall for a bathhouse, Caleb.
They sort of turn their minds around and realize that what they're doing is bad for this, and they should probably scale back a little bit. You don't have to stop completely.
Yeah, one of the actual quotes at the end, like Aang turns completely, does a complete 180 towards his people. Like at the beginning, he was furious, and at the end, he's like, you know what? I'm really glad you guys all live here now. It's like the hermit crab. Maybe you weren't born here, but you found this empty shell and made it your home, and now you protect each other.
Yeah. So they both sort of meet in the middle. Aang realizes that the airbenders are gone, and other people need to live here now.
How crazy would it be, though, to be the last living of your... I don't know.
It's super weird.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah. Is it a species? A race? It's probably more like a race.
Yeah. Anyways. Got any... I enjoyed this episode.
I thought it was okay.
I like the vagueness that I was referring to earlier with some of the certain things like the weaknesses and stuff like that. I felt like there was a lot of vagueness in this episode, at least 3 counts that I cannot tell you what they are right now. But I don't know. There's some stuff that I had some beef with, especially when the Mechanist runs through that room that was supposedly untouched, but actually had all the Fire Nation storage stuff in there. Mm-hmm. And Aang gets mad at him, and instead of confronting him, the dude just walks off.
Yeah,
like they just let him
go away.
Like no, that would have almost come to blows with me. Like if like my entire culture of 100 years ago was just completely destroyed, and this was the last remnants of it.
And you're working for the Fire Nation. I'd be furious, and I'd probably fight the guy. Obviously, I'd have a crazy advantage because I can bend multiple elements in the Avatar state. And he can bend none.
Starts throwing sludge bombs at Aang. That'd be a fight I'd like to see. The Mechanist versus Aang.
Yeah. So, I thought this was a pretty good episode. There's not really all that much trivia. I think we got into a little bit. Harley, why don't you read off some goofs from this episode?
Some goofs?
Some mistakes that the creators of the show and the animators might have made.
Well, I don't know if I do have them right here. Actually, this is my favorite because the rest of them are kind of poor goofs. But when the Mechanist is telling Aang of his settlement of the temple, Aang's staff apparently looks like just a regular stick.
That's some lazy animators.
That is some lazy animation. I don't know. It reminds me of a Scooby-Doo episode where they're holding this board and it says KL on it, and it gets reanimated 3 different times.
Oh.
Like the second time it's textured, and the KL is marked closer to the middle of the board, and there's like 3 splinters, and the third time it's like 2 splinters, and there's non-textured, and the KL is marked towards the end of the board.
Harley, why don't you save it for your Scooby-Doo podcast?
I will. Find me next week on Scooby-Doo Podcast. Okay, one of the other ones that I enjoyed was, I don't know, when Aang and Teo confront the Mechanist in his office, Teo's open-fingered gloves disappear and reappear several times. I do not remember that happening at all.
No, I didn't
guess
see it.
There's some really nitpicky fans. I did not see that. I guess we're being nitpicky. We're having a podcast of the show, so
That's by definition, nitpicky.
we are being nitpicky. But that was very petty. I did not realize that was a thing. Apparently, War Master Keen's hair is also disheveled and then not.
Oh, did it went back?
It went back immediately after Aang closes the door. In a short flash, looking through Aang's legs, Keen's hair is disheveled. But in the next scene, his hair is normal.
Oh.
It becomes loose again after Aang uses airbending against him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's just about all. That's just about all we have time for in this segment.
Actually, no. This is the bigger one right here. I got one more.
Okay.
With little goofs. In the Southern Air Temple, which is the title of one of the previous episodes we've seen, Aang states that the only way to reach an air temple is on a flying bison, aka Appa. Yet in this episode, the Fire Nation troops are able to walk right up the mountain and would have reached the temple this way had it not been for La Resistance.
I think that maybe
Vive la France.
Maybe the people who were living there are the Earth Kingdom refugees.
You think they carved that out
They
just
might
for themselves?
That would make sense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because and also there is a when the tanks go up the straight, they're up a cliff basically.
Mhm.
I don't know. Was there a path?
I don't know. But my question is, instead of actually carving that out, do you think since they're Earth Kingdom refugees that there are Earth benders in the air temple?
Probably not.
That'd be kind of. I mean, we didn't see any. But that'd be kind of cool.
Well, they're using rocks to break down walls, so I figure probably not.
Maybe he was just asleep. Maybe he doesn't work for that.
There's only just the one one Earth.
He doesn't work for that group of demolition people. I don't want to work for the construction crew. I built that entire pathway. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was tired.
Yeah, very tired.
Okay, so yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. But let's move right along.
Move right along to what is the next episode called, Caleb?
That would be the Waterbending Master.
You remember?
I did remember it that time.
Nice. That or you just read it. I'm not
No,
sure.
no, that was all me. You can trust me.
A little bit of the internet. What were you? Okay, we'll start off with what were your overall thoughts of this episode?
I remember this episode a lot. I really like it. Some parts I could do without, but overall, I thought it was a very good episode for Katara, especially.
Yeah, we do get a lot of character development. Well, not really character development. We get a lot more people that are attached to Korra's or not Korra. God bless America.
Nice.
Katara's family through. I don't want to spoil anything because we haven't gotten that far
You
yet.
probably shouldn't then.
We're not going to spoil it. We're going to talk about it anyways. But with Paku, turns out has
Who is the titular Waterbending Master?
Indeed, he has. I concur, but he has a connection with Katara that we will get into here in a little bit.
But this episode starts off with everybody. They're all on Appa. They're flying to the Northern Air Temple. Northern Air Temple? No, they're flying.
No, they're
to
actually going to the water.
The Northern Water Tribe. Excuse me. And Appa's getting tired because they've been flying for a while, and everybody's sokka frazzled. Katara and Sokka are getting mad at Aang because Appa's dipping down into the water. And then right about when everybody's getting pretty mad at each other, they encounter some ice benders.
Waterbenders. Oh, yeah, well, yeah,
they're bending ice, but they are waterbenders.
They show up out of nowhere and they freeze Appa.
Yeah, they encase Appa in ice and just hold him there.
And Appa does not freak out at all. Like I don't know if you ever tried to like hold an animal against their will, but not like But have you ever done that to like a dog? Just held against their will, like tightly.
I don't think so.
They'll freak out. All I'm picturing
I'll have to take your word for it.
Or like a bull or something like stuck in like mud.
You've held a bull.
I've seen an episode, or not an episode. I've seen a video where a bull was in mud.
Bull stuck in mud.
You think I could hold a bull?
No, that's why I was questioning.
I'm actually 10'4" and my arms are gigantic, and I hold bulls for a living, folks.
Why don't you save that for your bull holding podcast? But they capture them basically, but then they realize that he's the Avatar and everything's cool.
Yeah, like why did they capture them? Like
because they didn't know who they were.
Like they were just meandering on through. Like, oh, let's if I was them, I'd be like, all right, let's see where these kids go.
They're at war. with the Fire Nation.
Are they, though?
Yeah, they definitely are.
Who all is involved in this? I feel like it's
Everyone.
I feel like it's very picky on who this is.
Hardly everything changed.
Well, when the Fire Nation
attacked.
But you'll get refugees that are just kind of like, hey, I don't want anything to do with the war. And there are people who are just like, which I understand.
Well,
that's actual people in the real world, people who don't go off to war.
Yeah.
But this to me is kind of like a World War II scenario where people got drafted. So I'm like, you're part of the Earth Kingdom. You can bend stuff. You're going to join the army.
Well, not necessarily.
Like this is what I'm picturing as like the Fire Nation is insane. Like they're this huge Legion force.
It would be like if North Korea came over here and started taking over parts of America.
Red Dawn style.
Yeah, basically. Would everyone just start a militia like wherever they're at? No, you'd wait for the military.
Would we though?
It's a little bit different. Yes.
We have the National Guard though.
Oh, okay, but that's the military.
Yeah, like yeah.
They don't just go and like, hey, you can fight. We'll grab you.
Join us.
Yeah, that's not
putting posters up against the walls.
They
in like
kind of
random
do
places
that
in suburbs.
But
we need you.
I feel like it's justified that, and this is also a city.
That's fair.
That there's people there.
It's a very large settlement. It's not just
Yes.
like a couple refugees like grumming through the big
this
divide.
is not the Southern Water Tribe.
Yeah, but they did confront the Southern Water Tribe.
Yeah,
That was like the first episode.
I understand that.
Did they just not know the Southern Water Tribe was just
The Southern Water Tribe
Well, I
sent
guess-
their military.
I guess they were looking for the Avatar. So
Yeah. So they go and meet the what's the tribe leader, the chief.
I don't know, but
I don't
his
remember his
daughter's
name.
name's Yue.
His daughter's name is Yue, which Sokka takes a liking to her.
Immediately falls smitten with
Head
with
over
Yue.
heels.
Oh yeah, which they animate her to be very attractive.
She has very white hair, which spoilers will come into play later.
Does it though?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Explain that to me.
I will not, because it's spoilers, and you'll see in the
Like the next episodes.
Yes.
Okay, I was like, what? That's not a real thing.
So they have a feast, and then Master Paku says that he will train Aang. But is very mean to Aang.
Chief Arnook.
I don't care anymore.
Chief Arnook.
It doesn't matter anymore.
ARNU.
I don't. It literally that has nothing to do with what we're talking about now.
Chief Arnook.
Okay, moving on. Master Paku says that he's going to train Aang, but is being a little mean to Aang.
Yes. No. Extremely rude to Aang.
Yeah.
Like I understand that you could. I don't think Aang's the type of person to pull the "Hey, I'm the Avatar" card.
I totally would.
But I definitely would.
Be the first thing I'd do.
I'd punch him right in his face with some earthbending or something.
He can't do that
Well,
yet.
he can't do that yet. But he's done some firebending though. I'd create some fire and burn his face
I don't think
off.
he can create fire yet.
I'd melt his face.
I don't think he could.
I would drown him in water then.
But Katara also wants to be trained. That's why she came up here with Aang in the first place. And they say, hey, you're a woman. Go to where women go. Which is, I guess they heal people.
Yeah, like they're segregated, which it's called sexism in the fan base, but it's segregated into roles.
Yes.
Which traditionally, in like the old like 10,000 BC, when we were all hunters and gatherers,
And even in America today,
and even
it's the patriarchy.
that's messed up. The man,
Yes.
stick it to the man. But there's roles that are divided in between the sexes. Women are the gatherers, men are the hunters. Just how people are.
And
But
here in the Northern Water Tribe, men are the fighters, women are like the medics, the healers.
Yeah, women are the they heal
the
with
water
the
benders,
water
at
benders.
least,
Yeah, I don't know what the other people do. Are they just people? They just hang out. It's a really lax lifestyle. They just like just
guess.
whatever, man.
They probably have other jobs. They sell things. Make
Well, because
things.
like in the Fire Nation, in certain towns or cities, the people who don't bend fire are like we were talking about, like are the rent-a-cops or like the small police town.
Yeah, that's true.
People, and the people who are firebenders, they're in the army. So like, what do you think they just run shops? You think
Probably something like that. Just like regular things.
that's a lame lifestyle? You think they look up to people?
They
who
sell cabbages.
Do you think they look up to people who like have bending?
Probably. And that's a big thing in Korra, which we're not going to get into Korra. But the entire first season, I think, is like revolves around that. Don't you dare.
Take that, listeners. He brought up Korra on his own. I did not. Write that down.
Definitely not going to. Moving on. So, yeah, Katara is going down to be a healer. And I absolutely loathe this. I hate it. It's the worst. Because earlier, what's the guy's name? Jong. the Firebending Master.
When she gets burnt in the hands?
Yeah, he sees
Hands,
Katara,
not pants.
He sees Katara heal herself and says, that's a very rare thing that some waterbenders do. But apparently it's not. You can just learn it. I think that's dumb. I think that she should be special.
It's teachable. But if you go into the room that they're in,
I don't like it.
There's like 6 kids.
Nope, I hate it.
And it is a very large tribe.
Hate it. I don't like it at all.
So 6 kids out of this very large tribe.
I don't like it.
Out of 2 village tribes, there's only 1.
Yeah, but there's people off in the war fighting the war as medics.
Are there?
Yeah, because these kids are all the same age. You think that all the healers have
Show
just
me
been
proof.
It's called the war, Harley.
They're fighting. They're dying and stuff.
So while Katara is doing her woman work, we go back to Aang, and he is training under Pakku, who is still just being just a major jerk, saying like, "Oh, you'll probably master that move when you're my age."
Pakku is just a big old meanie face.
A meanie face, yes.
Well, no, that happens after they realize that
I understand
Katara
that.
has
It was a point.
Some connection.
But yeah, he's just being like, Aang, you're taking too long. Like you should like pick up the pace, basically.
Because
learning.
Katara threatens to fight Pakku.
Yeah, because
she almost tears down the chief's room.
She actually confronts Pakku and the chief, and then is like, "Hey, if you're such a man, why don't you meet me outside?
You coward."
Yes. And Pakku's like, "No, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to fight a girl."
So he walks away, and Katara pulls out a water whip and slaps him in the back of the head, and that probably would have hurt
a lot.
Yeah,
I wanted him to have a mark on his face for that.
It was in the back of the head.
Was it?
Yeah, because he was just gonna walk off and leave her up there, and she's like, "Nope."
And then they have like their own little Agni Kai, which isn't really for waterbending, but
no. But what I like about this is like you think that for the show, like Katara's gonna like do something like crazy and like beat him, and everybody's gonna then respect her. That's not what happened. He just messes with her the entire time.
You could tell he's not, like we were saying, I was saying earlier, it's kind of like...
Same for your Star Wars podcast.
I haven't even gotten there yet, you tool. It's like when Darth Maul was fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's toying with him. He's just toying with him. Obviously, Darth Maul was the more, not the opposite,
and in that case...
opposite of inept.
in that case, then the Katara character, Obi-Wan, actually did pull something off and win.
Yeah, but
in this one, it actually plays out how it would have been,
yes.
And Pakku is just like... dodging, and actually, at one point she does this weird thing with discs.
Yeah, like sheets of ice that are real thin that cut you in half.
Yeah, and it shows that he's like, oh wow, she's actually pretty good, but it still didn't even faze him.
Like she was like, it's funny though because she doesn't. We don't see a whole lot of her practicing.
I think this is just in the moment,
but she's just like going crazy. She's pulling this moves out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And she just turns this huge block into these little sheets of ice and starts throwing them at him like little like razor discs, like some Raiden hat.
She might have just thought that up right there and just been like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
That's crazy. But I thought, like, how do you just think something like that? Like, because
I would do it.
Bending has certain moves you got to go along with it, right? Or do you just think of something like, "Hey, pop, pop, pop."
Well, you can like spoiler alert, Toph. She just comes up with stuff.
That's fair.
So I feel like it's sort of that. Like, there's a base set, but then you can do other things with it.
So is it like whatever's like in your mind?
Yeah.
Like when Magneto like messes with metal. Like
yeah. You still probably have to like figure out what to do to make it work. But I feel like it's all up to creativity.
Yeah. Well, I would be a terrible bender because my imagination is very awful.
Yep.
I concur.
Yeah. So. During this whole thing, Katara's necklace gets knocked off, which she needs to figure out a way to fasten
her betrothal necklace.
Yeah, that's what we find out is it's actually from the Northern Water Tribe, and
which we get. This is not the first connection we have because earlier when she's in the healing room, the old lady is like, "Oh, I should know you're a spitting image of whatever Gram's name is."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, you knew my Gram?" And so it was kind of cool that we got a first connection. But then Pakku picks up the betrothal necklace.
Well, we find out that Gram was ready to be married in the Northern Water Tribe and did not want to do that. It was an arranged marriage.
Do they do arranged marriages for everybody or is that just royalty?
I don't know. It's probably a lot of people. I don't know exactly.
Maybe it is just royalty and Gram was royalty.
Probably not. I don't think that was the case. But
maybe.
We find out that the person that she was going to be married to was Pakku.
None other than Pakku.
Yes, and he had made the necklace for her. And he picks that up off the ground and says, "Hey, what's this?"
He's like, "No,
I made this."
He's like, "This is mine."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, it's not." And when she's sitting there, he threw spikes at her.
Yeah, she's like all
like 6 foot long spikes.
Yeah,
and put her in this weird cage, almost reminiscent of the edible hard candy that Boomy put the kids in earlier in the season.
But Paku picks up the necklace, and then he's like thinking about it, and the water melts. The ice that is keeping Katara all locked up,
which is something I have beef with. Did he decide to do that because he's now like, hey, I now have an emotional tie to this girl, or was he focusing on those spikes? Hold on. Was he focusing on those spikes, and when he stops focusing, they just go away? Because then they waterbended every single piece of that. I'm assuming they did. They waterbended every single piece of that temple and their village, basically, their city. So is there somebody constantly focusing on the buildings to where they don't fall every single small detail down to like the windows?
I think that now this is just me, but I think that maybe he was keeping her restricted so that she couldn't bend. So he was focusing on keeping that cage where it was, so she wasn't able to bend. And then when he lost focus, it dropped. That makes a little bit of sense.
So did the town that they live in, the city, did people actually waterbend that entire town and people have to focus on that?
Well, no.
Or did they carve that place?
No, what I'm saying is they waterbended that, but he has created this cage and is focusing to keep her in it, so that she can't like slip out and waterbend. So he's keeping everything where it's at in place.
Like a Green Lantern thing with the willpower. Okay.
Yeah. I would say that's as close as I can think that makes sense.
That's fair, I guess. I don't think my question still got answered. But anyways, so yeah, he finds out that it's the betrothal necklace that he gave to his grandma, which is weird that I realize it's like an heirloom. I guess it's kind of like an heirloom. But that she kept that.
Yeah.
When she decided to leave that marriage on her own, why would she
one of the
keep that?
only things she had from the Northern Water Tribe.
Was it though?
I don't know. Maybe.
I bet her clothes were Northern Water Tribe.
You're being a little nitpicky, Harley.
I am being very nitpicky right now. I'm just trying to wrap my head around this.
Okay, so then we cut to we haven't even got into what Zuko has been up to this entire
Zuko's
episode.
having a heck of a ride.
Yeah, because we figure out Zhang, Admiral Zhang.
Zhao.
Is it Zhao? It is Zhao.
Wow.
He has been conspiring to catch the Avatar this entire time, but he has figured out that they've gone to the Northern Water Tribe and has just got around to every Fire Nation ship that he could find and taken all the people and assembled a fleet.
They find the Avatar so easily all the time. Like, do they have like spies in like certain? Do you think so? And they send like little messenger birds out. Like that's what I would do. Have spies everywhere.
But we see Admiral Zhao, and he has contacted the pirates.
Well, not yet, because he hasn't contacted the pirates until he's talking to Zuko, and he realizes that he's like 99% sure that Zuko's the Blue Spirit because those swords are hanging up on Zuko's wall.
Yeah.
And so he asks him about the Blue Spirit, and Uncle Iroh's like, I don't believe he exists.
But
then what does he say to Zuko? He's like, oh, I didn't realize you were such a good, so good at sword play or whatever, swordsmanship, however you call that. He's like, no, I'm not. They're just antiques, but they're for decoration only, which they're not because he's probably killed people with that before. And he captured the Avatar with him one time. The only time he's ever successfully captured the Avatar.
Has not so far.
So far.
So, Zhao has... We see him after that, and he has ordered the pirates that we saw in the episode.
The same pirates.
Yes. The waterbending scroll.
Are these the only pirates they have?
Yes.
In the entire universe?
Yes. I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. That doesn't make any sense.
They look very menacing in this episode, though. Like in the last episode, they were just like,
bird especially.
Yeah, they were just I don't know, they were joking, and they looked pathetic, to be honest. But in this episode, when the camera pans back and it shows all of them, they're standing up there like this band of just thugs. Uh-huh. Like they've probably murdered some people. But when I first saw them, they're like, no, these guys probably have not murdered people. They're probably failing pirates.
Yeah, so Zhao pays them off, and then they go and take blasting jelly to Zuko's ship after Zuko's the only one left on it, and they're going to blow it up.
Oh yeah, because Admiral Zhao took every single one of his soldiers.
Everybody.
That's the second time.
Even the cook.
That's the second time that he's had mutinous soldiers on board.
That's not mutiny.
Well, yeah, it is.
It was a direct order from someone in the military.
I still think Prince outranks Admiral Zhao.
He's exiled, Harley. We went over this.
I don't care.
He's banished.
It's not really an exile because I feel like
the pirates take the blasting jelly on the ship and they blow it up, and we see Zuko get blown up And he yells, and Zuko's dead. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no more Zuko. And then Iroh sees it happen too, and he's like, "Oh no, Zuko's dead." And then we saw it happen too, and we're like, "Oh no, Zuko's dead."
Yeah, so he's dead.
And
That's all I can say about that.
Zuko saw it, and he goes, "Oh no, I'm dead."
No, he didn't.
He did, because he's dead. He doesn't do that.
No. So then we find out later Zuko's not dead, obviously, because he's talking to Iroh, and they sort of knew this was coming all along, and they've been scheming.
Yeah, Admiral Zhao thinks he's gotten away with it because Uncle Iroh goes, I know who's attacked Zuko. And Admiral Zhao's kind of like worried for a second. He's like, "Wait, you know who did it?" And he goes, "Pirates."
Yes.
And Admiral Zhao kind of gets this thin-lipped grin on his face. And he's just kind of like, "Yeah,
I don't like him.
I've gotten away with it." But then turn to find out, Uncle Iroh and Zuko absolutely knew that Admiral Zhao was a dirtbag.
Yeah.
Always been a dirtbag.
So now Zuko is out on his own. And
posed as a Fire Nation guard.
Yes,
With
I don't know how long that pose
with those
is
cool
gonna last,
skeleton mask thingies.
Yeah,
Ceramic mask. That was pretty cool. I don't know why. I like those a lot.
yeah, they look cool. But so we go back to the Northern Water Tribe, and Aang has resumed his training under Pakku, and then Katara shows up, and Pakku's like, "Hey, what are you doing here? You were supposed to be here a while ago." And
You're
now,
late.
Yeah, now she's she is a student of Pakku.
Yeah, well, I guess there's. I don't know, because when they first introduced Pakku and they're like, "Oh, this is Master Pakku and his students," there were two of them, so it was like the elite two, like he had to audition for that role.
Yeah, he's probably like a advanced teacher, is what I'd say.
That's fair. Like, I just didn't feel like there's a lot of waterbenders in that water tribe. Young waterbenders.
They're in the army or the navy. I
Yeah,
guess
but
it would
like
be.
Sokka didn't go to the army, and he was he was 13. So
He
you
was
have
young,
So you have at least waterbenders ages from like 2 or 3 to 13,
maybe.
and you're telling me in this giant, vast city of a water tribe that there's like only 6 waterbenders?
Yes,
That's absurd to me.
I don't know. It could be.
I guess that there's not a lot of military men and women there to procreate and make waterbenders.
Yeah, that's true. Do you have to be a waterbender to make a waterbender? Or do you just have to be from that tribe?
Maybe not, because I don't. No, because I think I was gonna say Korra's dad. I think pretty sure he's a waterbender. So never mind.
I have no clue. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's some things, ladies and gentlemen, that we just will never know.
We could Google it, but we like the enigmatic.
Absolutely
force behind
not. So this episode ends with Zhao looking at a map, and then he says, "Okay, let's go." And it pans up and shows his entire fleet that he's amassed, all starting their engines.
Like hundreds of ships.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. And they're going to go take the Northern Water Tribe down.
Which leads us into, I can't tell you yet because it's not next week. Stick around, and we'll tell you.
Okay, so that's the end of the episode. Harley, why don't you rattle off some goofs for us?
Yeah, all right. So one of them is when Katara first confronts Chief Arnook.
Don't care.
Katara's glove disappears after she addresses him. Just out of nowhere, like lazy animating again.
Maybe she took it off.
Lazy animating again.
I think she probably took it off.
This is a little bit, not lazy animating, but tricky animating. The man ferrying Yue, Princess Yue, is first seen with brown hair, but then appears with gray hair in the following frames.
Okay. And maybe he aged really quickly.
Super quick. That man has some problems. All right, and when the broadswords are first seen on Prince Zuko's ship, from a long shot, there is a sheath hanging under them. After Zhao picks one up, the sheath is mysteriously gone.
Maybe it's a disappearing sheep.
Lazy animating again.
I don't know. Maybe. These can all be explained away. I don't see any of these as real goofs.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's just different animating. It's like, we already animated this scene like 2 days ago. Let's just pick up where we left off.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Now this is a big deal to me. This kind of ruffled my feathers a little bit. When Sokka and Princess Yue, I guess at this point, when Prince Sokka and Princess Yue,
He's not a prince.
self-proposed Prince Sokka, met on the bridge, a crescent moon can be seen in the background. However, only a few days later, a full moon gives advantage to waterbenders during the Siege of the North.
Spoilers.
Game of the Thrones thing.
Spoilers. Yeah, I guess that's true. That's a pretty big goof. One thing I want to bring up what we noticed during this episode is while Sokka is talking to Yue, Katara can be seen in the far left side of the screen, just staring blankly off into space.
Yeah, that was pretty funny to me. I did not listen to anything Sokka said because I was just staring at Katara's
she was just
face.
like looking.
She didn't blink at all. Like her eyes were huge.
So they just did not want to. They just did not want to animate her at all. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of trivia for this episode
Because there is only a little bit of trivia.
Not very big trivia heavy episodes. First off, the song played by Iroh in the beginning is titled Four Seasons.
No, not Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons.
Or Vivaldi.
For all you old people.
For all you even older people. Its melody is used many times in this episode, as well as the 2-part season finale. Season finale. I guess maybe we'll have to keep an ear out for that.
Already forgotten what the tune is, so it's like boom, boom, boom.
No,
not that. Am I thinking of something completely different?
No,
that's some like Lord of the Rings nonsense. I guess.
I think is the song called Jersey Girl.
Big girls don't
Is that
cry.
okay? Yeah, that one. Okay, no, that's not it. Okay, next week's trivia. According to the DVD commentary for this episode, Master Kapaku's waterbending trick of trapping Katara in a cage of icicles was inspired from a scene in House of the Flying Daggers.
I am ashamed to tell everyone on this podcast that I have never seen House of Flying Daggers.
It's probably just like a Japanese movie.
It is. I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Toward the end of the battle with Katara, Paku bends water up in the air and converts it into a stream. Okay. The icicle stream. Trapping Katara and thus preventing her from waterbending.
No spoiler. No, it's leading to a spoiler. No spoiler.
Later, Katara...
Don't you do it.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty big spoiler.
We're going to say it anyways.
No.
Uses a similar technique.
I'm cutting this out.
Don't do it. A person. A person.
Yeah, that's the end of the trivia for this episode.
Three solid trivia.
Yeah.
Piece of trivia.
Hey,
awesome.
Wikipedia? Why don't you step up your game for the trivia?
Yeah, come on, give us something good.
But I think with that's going to do it for this episode.
Is it? Did we already say whether or not we liked? We did. I did not say I liked this episode.
I think we did.
I liked this episode.
Okay, so with that, that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If any of you want to get in contact with us, you can do that with boysintheiceberg@gmail.com. You send any questions you have there. And check us out on Twitter @boysintheberg. Again, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you here next week.
Bye.